which really doesn't have any bearing on the story. I just, after the looks of disgust and bewilderment after I tell the story, I like people to think that I'm a product of my environment instead of the fact that my brother and I really and truly were little monsters growing up. So at a very young age, we had already established a history of violence between one another. We're 2 years apart, he's older than I, and I think when you have that little bit of time between you, it tends to be worse in terms of beating the crap out of each other. So we continually did so many things together in terms of violence that my mother wasn't surprised by much. And it's surprising that literally one of us has not lost an eye. And I mean literally has not lost an eye. When we were kids, at one point, you know, I was 5, my brother was 7, and I wanted to hang out with him because he was my older brother, and you know, his friends were cool, and I wanted to be a part of that. And so at one point, like, I tried to hang out with my brother with his friends that lived next door to us, and my brother threw a flathead screwdriver at me, okay? Like hand over hand, like this. And Tom, this is where you and I share this scar story.
Yeah.
It came flying at me and hit me right here. Still have a scar right here. Stuck in my face at 5 years old, right? Run in the house screaming and crying, and you know, ended up with stitches and you know, whatever. So literally, you get the point. Like, I literally almost lost an eye. Now, the thing is like, I was no angel either. I had grown fond of dropping Tonka trucks on my brother's face. So I don't know how they're made now these days, but back then they were big ass heavy metal trucks. And so at one point my brother and I, when we were actually getting along in one of the few times, decided that we were going to take his Tonka truck and we were going to take it to the top of the slide, and together we were going to push it down the slide. Pretty eventful for a young age, I know. And so my brother, I got to the top because him being bigger and stronger than I, he was carrying the Tonka truck rung by rung on the ladder. And he got basically 2 rungs from the top of the ladder and handed it to me, you know, over his head like this, which I grabbed it and looked down at him, and it just seemed like the perfect opportunity to drop it on his face, which is exactly what I did. After all that hard work and the time and energy, I took the truck and dropped it on his face and watched him in the truck tumble to the ground. So, anyways, but I can say with complete certainty though, my brother was much worse than I was. So this is the part where we might get in a fist fight in the parking lot after this. But being older, and he had quite the quick temper, and so most of my attacks came from being fed up with things that he was doing to me. So at this one story that I want to tell. So my brother and I were coloring on the hearth of our fireplace, right? And I remember it specifically. I was sitting to his left. I'm left-handed. He was sitting to the right. I was coloring a Care Bears coloring book. My brother was coloring, I think, a He-Man coloring book. And so my mom had come out of our room. When I say our room, it's because my mom and my brother and I all slept in the same room together. My parents got divorced, and my mom rented out our rooms to save money, and so my mom and my brother and I all slept in a king-size waterbed, right? How we did this, I have no idea. Obviously, a waterbed is one of the worst inventions of 1980s that's ever happened. And so they're uncomfortable to sleep in on your own, and then having 2 small children sleeping in this bed with you. Not really sure how my mom did it. Anyways, so my mom came out of our room, and we're sitting there coloring, and she came out, and she walked up to the 2 of us, and she's like, "Tonight is the season finale of Dallas. If either of you walk into this room, you better be fucking dead." And I was 6 years old at this point, but I guarantee you these were my mom's exact words. Okay. First of all, because the word fuck was not an issue in our household. It was used as a noun, pronoun, adjective, verb, you name it. Okay. I'm a product of my environment. I'm from Detroit. And so, anyways, my mom also was an extremely patient woman, and so when she meant business, she meant business. Like she could take a lot, and when she got, but you also didn't want to piss her off. So when you pissed her off, she'd get this vein that would pop out in her neck, and you knew, you're like, oh, I am in for it. So when she was to the point of something like that, my brother and I knew, we're like, okay, all right, don't piss mom off. It's season finale of Dallas, and so we made sure to not mess with her in that. So anyways, I'd like to think that this part of the story I don't remember as much. I'd like to think that she at least got like through half an hour of the story, right? But I'm not really sure. So we're sitting there coloring, my brother and I'm coloring my Care Bears book, and I have a purple crayon in my hand, and my brother takes the crayon, just grabs it right out of my hand and starts using it. And I remember being like, hey, I'm using that right now. And he's like, I don't care. And I was, normally things like this I would let go, but I'm coloring Care Bear. And so she has to be purple, right? You can't color Care Bear another color other than purple. Okay? That's what she does. She's purple. And also, I remember Care Bear was also the Care Bear that encouraged other people to share their feelings. And so I was thus encouraged to share my feelings with my brother of utter hate and disgust. And so I'm not really sure what came over me. Maybe I had watched some Steven Seagal movies or something at this point. But there was a number 2 pencil, freshly sharpened, standing on the hearth with all the other crayons, amongst all the other crayons. I grabbed the pencil in my right hand. I'm left-handed, right? So I grabbed the pencil in my right hand, sharp point sticking out by my pinky, and I stabbed my brother right in the face. Oh! Not only stabbed him in the face, I stabbed him right here. Right? Like perfect. I don't know what this part of your face is called, but I stabbed him right. What's it called?
The snuffle trough.
Okay. So I stabbed my brother right in the snuffle trough. Not only do I stab him right in the snuffle trough, I do some other Steven Seagal shit, and I break the lead off him. Like, oh! So now my brother has this piece of lead sticking out of his face like this. I'm holding a sharp weapon just in case he retaliates. I'm ready to go. Which he's not ready to retaliate, okay? My brother, his eyes get wide. He's in shock. I mean, he's 7 years old. I just stabbed him in the face with a pencil over a crayon. And so he puts his hand over his mouth like this. And then, of course, runs into our room with my mom, who is sitting, there's not a comfortable way to sit on a waterbed and watch TV. So there's like a little corner at the edge of the bed that you can sit on. So my mom is literally sitting on the edge of the bed watching Dallas, whoever shot JR or whatever's going on. And so I'm like careening my head around the corner watching to see what's going to happen, but also want to stay hidden because I'm like, I'm just still processing what I've done. And so my brother runs in the room and he's like, to my mom, and I see my mom's like, this better be good, Jason, and she turns back to the TV, and I'm like, oh God, what have I done? So he walks into the room, she's like, let me see, what do you have going on? So he pulls his hands down, and I hear my mom go, God damn it! And I'm like, oh no, I am in so much trouble. So my mom calls the hospital, right? And she's like, yeah, so my daughter just stabbed my son in the face with a pencil. Just wondering if I need to bring him in. Well, so the hospital can't legally tell her, you can't bring him, don't bring him in, he's fine. But they're like, number 2 pencils are made with graphite now, they're not made with lead. He's probably fine, you probably just need to pull the lead out, or pull the graphite out and give him some peroxide and he'll be fine. And so, so my mom shuts off the TV, she does all this, and I'm doing what any other 6-year-old would do, is I'm pretending to be asleep on the couch. Because I'm like, you know, so if she wakes me up, I can be like, what happened? No, he got, who would have done something like that? So anyways, my mom comes in after she takes care of my brother and wakes me up and tells me to go take a shower, right? And so I think this was mainly because I was such a dirtbag as a kid. Surprise, surprise, to my friends who know me now. And she knew I wouldn't put up a fight, so she's like, go take a shower. And I'm like, okay. And so meanwhile, I'm in the shower thinking like, how bad is this ass beating about to be? You know, is it pants down, pants up? Is it going to be a belt? Is it going to be a hand? Because, I mean, surely I'm not going to get away with stabbing my brother in the face and not get punished. So anyways, the next thing, I take a shower, and she's like, come on in and lay down. And so she did one of my favorite things as a kid. So my mom used to clean my ears, where she would sit on the couch and I would lay in her lap and she'd be really gentle and she would clean my ears, and I was surprised that she was actually even willing to do this, knowing that I liked it so much. And so she's cleaning my ears, and like I said, she's a pretty patient woman, and so we started talking about, you know, the fact that I just stabbed my brother in the face. And she knew, she's like, look, I'm pretty sure that you just got to the end of your rope and stabbed him in the face. But I'm going to tell you right now, this is the first of many times where men are going to piss you off. Okay? And you can't go around stabbing people in the face every time they piss you off. Okay? So she's like, I'm going to just tell you right now, you have to be the bigger person, okay? Every time a man pisses you off, you have to be the bigger person and you have to walk away. And if you can't walk away and you have to be backed into a corner, then you just kick them in the nuts. Okay, because normally they don't have to go to the hospital over that. And people can't see it and they'll get to the point. So this is one of the many pieces of advice that my mom has given me in the past. So now, you know, now that I'm grown and my brother's grown, we actually live in the same city. We're much more civil to each other these days. And while we might verbally attack each other, we don't necessarily have any sort of like physical combat with each other. And if we do, we usually wait until my mom actually visits us. That's it. Thank you.